We first heard David Octavio Gandell's story on the Steve Harvey Show. Now he is telling his miraculous survival story on the Basia Show. David survived cancer twice, and when the doctors felt he would not survive, he refused to give up on God. Don't miss this one. It is sure to touch your life.
David Octavio Gandell is a two-time cancer survivor with a miraculous story of survival. David was the ultimate fitness guru who maintained a healthy lifestyle. In 2007, his life would change forever after he was re-diagnosed with a fatal type of cancer. I recently learned about David's story after my husband and co-producer saw him on the Steve Harvey Show. We knew immediately that we had to share his story with those who did not get the chance to see it. If you or a member of your family have been diagnosed with cancer, this show is for you. I'm Alicia Powell. When we come back, I talk to miraculous cancer survivor David Octavio Gandell. We'll be right back.
You're watching The Basia Show, Miami.
RBC Royal Bank wants to put you in the driver's seat. As you embark upon your many journeys ahead, we're with you every step of the way. RBC Royal Bank, strength at work for you.
The freshest foods, the perfect meal, the ultimate kitchen. At Quartz, we offer the widest range of kitchen solutions from the world's top brands at the best prices guaranteed. So whether it's a small or large appliance, come to Quartz to find the one that's right for you and add that special magic to your kitchen. Quartz, bringing value home.
You're watching The Basia Show, Miami.
Welcome back. You're watching The Basia Show. I'm Alicia Powell, and with me is cancer survivor David Octavio Gandell. David, it's my honor. Welcome to The Basia Show.
Thank you for this opportunity. It really is a blessing
Thank
for
you
me.
for giving me this opportunity. Really, I mean, sometimes you reach out to many people, and you know, I can't take the credit for this because I was traveling and my husband and business partner saw your story and he knew immediately that we had to get you. And one of the reasons for that, let me explain quickly before we go into your story, is really just because of our journey and me being an advocate for breast cancer and really telling the story that cancer is treatable, cancer is beatable. I sang that story for so many years that I got tired. And when we saw the chance to show them, because sometimes people may say, well, your cancer wasn't so bad. Your cancer wasn't so advanced, because all cancer is bad. And when we see a miracle like yours, we can't let that pass. We have to show that to the world. So thank you for allowing us to do this.
Well, it's a pleasure, and it really is a blessing.
Yeah.
My purpose is to share the story, it's God's story.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, just like there's certain people that can't handle that kind of pain.
Yeah.
There's certain people that can't handle that type of chemotherapy or that type of even the news to be said. So I always say, you know, God will never give you something you can't handle. So when someone says, well, I didn't have your type of cancer, I had this type of cancer, that's all you could handle.
Yeah.
But what are you doing with that? And that is where I'm at. It's what are you going to do after you survive such a thing? What did you learn from it? And what does your life really mean? And that's what I do now as a life coach and as a speaker. It's trying to get to that meaning of we all got a purpose.
I want to pause because people are looking at you now and they're listening to you and we have a way of brushing things aside, but I want us to highlight, and it's probably going to be on the screen in a short while. This is what you looked like in 2007.
2006. And then the top picture after the surgery, that was 2007.
2007.
Correct. But my worst was in August 25th of 2006.
Right. And you say you're a life coach now, and I'm sure you're able to revisit that, and you've had to revisit those moments many times to really explain to people.
Almost daily.
Daily.
Almost daily.
And I admire you for that, because sometimes I can't go back. So
I
take
know,
me
and
back.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know, sometimes you just want to, but let's talk about you and take me back to a moment where you were diagnosed with a fatal cancer and you were being told, yo buddy, you're going into a 12-hour surgery. You are as weak as you are there, as we showed on the screen, and you may not survive the week. What
Correct.
goes through your mind? How does faith make an entrance in your brain when all the odds are against you?
Well, we have to rewind a little bit to 2004. I was 29 years old, perfect health, long hair, great weight, modeling, doing things, running multiple gyms and health clubs. And I was diagnosed with an immature teratoma.
And what's that?
That
Please
is a
explain to our
tumor.
viewers what that is.
That is a tumor that, because it's immature, it grows different types of cancers. And that's the problem in the medical world. How could you cure one and then try to cure 2 or 3 or 4? In the case in 2004, that's where faith really became an entry, like you said. That was perfect. That's where I had to really start that relationship with God that I just never had.
I was about to ask you that.
I knew God existed. I knew that, you know, my mom had, I went to church and all that great stuff. And I knew God was always with me.
Yeah.
But there's a difference
But you
between...
weren't always with him.
Correct. There's a difference between just living my life and still saying, thank you, God.
So after 2004, you became closer to the Lord.
I just started, first, the why question, which you probably asked yourself.
No.
Oh, you never asked yourself why? Well, at that moment, I said, why me? I did. And at 29, I had my surgery literally 3 days later after being diagnosed, and they said, you know, that we couldn't find anything else. So for those 2 years, I got the answers of why. I got the answers of what my purpose is in this life, and I got the answers of why I had been given all these gifts and talents for so many years, and my being a trainer or being a motivator or being whatever I was, it was all a plan.
Yeah.
I got that in those 2 years. So God prepared me for what was to be the battle of my life, and that's when I got re-diagnosed 2 years later, and they said I wasn't going to live.
What ran through your mind at the point when your doctor, I imagine an oncologist, so said to you, David, you are not going to live?
Well, there were multiple, because I'm a case study. So what happened was, in the first weekend of 2006, I ended up going to Orlando to do a fashion show. Believe it or not, yes, I did a fashion show with terminal cancer 2 days before I ended up in the emergency room.
Wow.
And I promise you, as so much pain that I had, I never had pain in the stage. As soon as I stepped onto that stage and I walked that runway and walked back, I didn't look like I was sick.
Because you were focused on meeting that goal.
I just said, God, if I'm going to die here, this is a perfect way for me to go.
Yeah.
Because this is what I love to do, is be on that stage and just showcase what you've given
So
me.
you never had a moment that you felt like giving up and saying, this is too hard for me to do?
I had a
Too
lot
much
of moments.
chemotherapy. You had like what, 96?
98 total. It's been wrong in every article.
Yeah,
it was actually 98.
That's why I like to meet
Yes.
my guests.
This is the first time I'm saying that
Yeah.
it was 14 chemotherapies
Yeah.
per round, 7 full rounds in a 5-month period. My last chemotherapy was December 31st, last day, New Year's Eve was my last chemo. I ended up going home that day and waking up at a house of one of my best friends. He let me stay with him that night. So I woke up New Year's Day and I said, God, just no more chemo this year. That was my last one. And he kept that promise. He kept his word. So I did 98 chemotherapies. But what was interesting about it is when you look at the pictures, I gained weight through chemotherapy, which is very hard to do.
I know.
I went as down as 124 pounds.
Yeah.
And that was actually my first round. So when you show that picture, people don't understand. That wasn't after 98 chemos. That was after 14 chemos.
Wow.
So I ended up having to go through a second round. Then after the third round, I was praying.
David, I took 4 rounds, and still live on tablets. And I can tell you, my husband could tell you, that I couldn't even go 6. I guess God will give you more than you could bear. But I cannot even imagine 98.
I couldn't imagine 14, but
Your will to live was that
I
much.
wanted to live, and those 2 years were very important. You know, and when I write the book and people get to see it, it's a very, very big part of those 2 years. because people, you know, we try to get love from a lot of things. We try to get attention from a lot of things. We try to, or people, or circumstances, or even work. We forget that God is always there waiting on us to just say, I am here. And He's loving you unconditionally. He's giving you a dream life. It's just we don't know what it is or what it entails. Life was never supposed to be easy. But was high school easy when we were kids? No. Was
Nothing
college easy
when
we were kids? Nothing in life is
I was talking to my cousin about that yesterday, and he said life owes you nothing. And
nothing.
A lot of times you really have to fight for what you want and extract the juice out of life, the juice you want.
Amen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if we don't, but I'm just very grateful to have those 2 years, and I made a decision to speak to God and say, okay, you know what do you want out of my life? Why am I going through this?
Yeah.
And I started seeing a script, I started seeing a book, I started seeing myself speaking again, I started seeing me doing videotapes and things like that. I said, okay, so that's it. So I'm going to survive. You're giving me this vision, so I'm going to survive. So whatever comes my way, how many chemotherapies I go through, and whatever surgery comes in, I'm going to survive, because you would not put those dreams in my spirit if they were not going to come true. And I tell that to kids all the time when I speak in middle schools and high school. If you have a dream, it's there for a purpose. Don't let it go. And I tell parents the same thing. Let your kids dream, and then support your kids' dreams. Let them get there if they're going to get there, because they might change their mind a year from now. But just that one moment, support them. And that's what I just say, God, you know what? You put them in my heart, you put it in my spirit, so whatever comes my way, I know the outcome. And I always say, if you knew the outcome of the situation you're in right now, how would you live those moments? You know what I'm saying? How would you live your moments if you didn't? You knew you had dreams, you knew you had a family, so you knew that cancer wasn't your death sentence, you knew that cancer was just another step.
To teach me how to live.
Maybe how to live, maybe to slow down on certain things, or maybe to appreciate certain things. We don't know. I don't know, because we never had this conversation. But I know it has a purpose. And I know that you're doing even this right now had a purpose, because maybe we wouldn't have this interview.
No, we would not.
Maybe the cancer wouldn't even popped up into your head.
When we come back, we're going to talk some more about, you know, David's journey and how it can affect your life at home. Don't touch that dial. Stay tuned. This is the Basia Show. We'll be right back.
You're watching the Basia Show, Miami.
RBC Royal Bank wants to put you in the driver's seat. As you embark upon your many journeys ahead, we're with you every step of the way. RBC Royal Bank, strength at work for you.
You're watching the Basia Show, Miami.
Welcome back. This is the Basia Show. I'm Alicia Powell, hanging out with Cancer Hero, because no other title is fitting for this gentleman. David Octavio Gandell, a man who fought a fatal type of cancer, not once, but twice. As a cancer survivor, I know what that is. I know how, you know, we see so many self-proclaimed heroes in this world. And just as any war veteran, anyone going to fight for their country, I consider your battle to be at the same level.
I will say one thing, that I cannot ever, and I tell this to people all the time, I can't take credit for what God did, because He did it.
But you can take credit for your attitude.
For the attitude. I can take credit for my actions.
Yeah.
I can take credit for my decisions to let God be the guide, and to believe that He could do all things. And that faith is what got me through, and to believe in those dreams that He put inside of me, that they were going to come true, and they're happening now. This is a dream. This to be to be with you, be another testimony, another miracle. To be on your show. It's a dream, and I tell that to people. They don't understand what it is. Every time that I'm sitting in a room and have this opportunity on a radio or TV or even speaking at a show,
Yeah.
I am living my dream. My dream was to inspire millions. So that dream was put in my heart when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
I've spoken about that before, and I just didn't know how it was going to come true.
Yeah.
So the audience right now, even one person listening, which I know is more than that, but I'm saying that dream is coming true.
Yeah.
So you know, every time that I speak, if one person gets it, that's all. That's all I needed.
That's one on the road to the millions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm very blessed, and I thank everybody that ever gives me that opportunity, because you are part of that dream for me.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
how important it is.
Well, David, you want to know something? You are part of that inspiration for me, because very few people know that as a cancer survivor, you always have a moment of what if.
Mm-hmm.
You always.
Mm-hmm.
My husband knows that is what I struggle with, and because I live a positive life, I put it behind me. And when I see stories like yours, I'm like, this thing, you beat it with faith. You beat it with, it's a combination of chemotherapy and all that, but it's just a testimony that there's nothing that is impossible for God to do.
Nothing.
And that's what I admire about your story, the glory that you give to God, because there's so many cynics out there. I've had people tell me that cancer cannot be healed, and they thought I was just so stupid. And, you know, they didn't say the word stupid, but they were sarcastic in their response.
Mm-hmm.
Today, now I know that they were ignorant. And you can't be upset with people for something that they don't know.
No, people will disappoint you and frustrate you, but
Yeah.
that's part of the
And
opposite
they look at
plan.
you and think, okay, well, if you feel you're going to be healed, like your business. Didn't you feel that at times?
No, I tell people it's funny because you know who the real people in your life are supposed to be when
At
you're
that
sick in that bed.
I do. I know.
And there's people that call me now and said, David, I'm so sorry I wasn't there. And I said, you
But
weren't
they didn't know
supposed
better.
to.
They weren't supposed to be there, and they didn't know better.
You weren't supposed
When
to.
you know better, you do better.
Correct. If you're supposed to be part of that journey, trust me, there would have been a way God would have brought you to that room.
Yeah.
Or maybe you couldn't handle it. And that's
There are people
that's
who
the
told me
thing.
just as recent as February, someone told my husband and I that she stayed away from us because she couldn't handle it. It reminded her of when she lost her sister.
And we have to be understanding of that.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah,
it's not for
I'm not
everybody.
upset. Yeah.
And I tell that to people all the time, and they don't understand that. I said, it's okay. I don't need you to understand. But listen,
Yeah.
the doctors still don't understand why I'm still living.
So far less
so
for
if the
them.
doctors can't understand, I'm not
less
going to
for-
worry about
well,
just every single.
Yeah,
you know,
Mr.
Mr. Smith,
you
Mr. and Mrs.
understand.
Smith to
yeah,
understand.
But you understand. I mean, David, you've been very vocal about your faith in God and how He saved your life.
Yes.
What would you say to some people who may say that, you know, I had faith in God too, but He took my brother, He took my mother, He took my father? How do you explain that to them? Because those are the people I'm worried about.
I hear about that every day. I was just, we with your producers, everybody. I was after the Steve Harvey show aired.
Yeah.
I feel a responsibility,
Yeah.
huge responsibility to answer every single email. And I've been up till probably 3, 4 o'clock in the morning every single day for the
You
last
need
couple
your
of
rest,
weeks.
okay?
I'm sorry?
You need your
No,
rest.
I will. I'll get it
Yeah.
probably after this weekend. But what's interesting was that there's a lot of that questioning.
Yeah.
And people go to a church
Yeah.
and they said, I didn't feel God's love at that church. Or they didn't treat me that way, or they judged me, or they did that. Then I also get the questions of, I lost my brother, I lost my son, I lost my mother, I lost my father, I'm losing my father, I'm losing my husband with 8 kids. I have a young lady just emailed me about 8 kids, and her husband is the breadwinner. And, and every single one is a different answer. And I tell people, I'm praying about that email, and I'm praying for those people. And then whatever God instills in my spirit to speak to them, I will. But it's a responsibility I take very, 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 I mean, I take it to heart, because I know that whatever words come out, some people are going to look at it as is the Bible, and it isn't.
Yeah.
I'm just a human being. I was given a choice to live or die.
Yeah.
I decided I wanted to live. I let God do the rest. But I always tell people, my spirit was healed before my cancer was healed. So if I
get that.
If I die tomorrow,
I get that.
You get it, and because you're going through it, you went through it.
I get that.
If my relationship with God is that good, I know I have a mansion up in heaven waiting for me, and I know that I get to see my grandparents again.
So either way, you're good.
I'm good. I could die tomorrow, but here's the funny part, and I say funny because a lot of people are going to take it funny. If I do die tomorrow, almost 20 articles have been published. TV appearances have been done in Spanish and English and now in the Caribbean. Hey, I'm from Puerto Rico, so I'm proud of that.
Oh, really? Great.
So the story's going to be told.
Yeah.
You know, we look at the...
You've done your job.
I've done my job. And if God's proud of me,
to that.
if he says good and faithful servant, amen. But I
Amen.
know that he's got more for me.
Yeah.
I know that I'm working on
We'll
a lot
talk
of
some more about that
projects.
when we come back.
Okay.
You know, this is a Basia show. Stay tuned. I want David to give some advice to some of our cancer patients out there in need of hope. We'll be right back.
You're watching The Basia Show, Miami.
RBC Royal Bank wants to put you in the driver's seat. As you embark upon your many journeys ahead, we're with you every step of the way. RBC Royal Bank, strength at work for you.
Endless. At Quartz, we have the widest range of furniture to suit any style. So you're sure to find something that's you. Furniture is fashionable, only at Quartz. Bringing value home.
You're watching The Basia Show, Miami.
Welcome back. This is the Basia show. And if you missed us, you missed a lot. And hopefully you'd see this repeated many times. But I've had the privilege of hanging out for the past 20 odd minutes with none other than cancer survivor David Octavio Gandell, a champion hero for the cause, a man who has a story like no other and who has survived the dreadful disease called cancer like no other. And prior to your diagnosis, you were a physical trainer, actor and model, you know. You led a healthy lifestyle. Did you think for a moment that you were at risk of having cancer?
No, never. That's why I blacked out when I got the diagnosis.
You blacked out?
Even though I knew what it was when I had the tumor, the first tumor, the first diagnosis. I blacked after the doctor says you do have cancer. He kind of confirmed it. I was given blood, and I never passed out giving blood. And I literally, the nurses had to wake me up.
So how did they find it?
The original diagnosis was testicular cancer,
Yeah.
and the testicle had grown to the point that I knew that it was something going on.
Yeah.
So they diagnosed it after an ultrasound, and then after that, I was immediately in surgery. Literally from Friday the 13th to August 16th, I had my surgery. They removed it.
It was an advanced stage of testicular
It was already
cancer.
getting advanced, but it hadn't spread at the time.
Yeah.
So, and I said, you know, it's funny because I started really building my faith through those 2 years of preparing for something, and but that preparation really took a toll because I had to start thinking, am I living my life the way I'm supposed to? Am I doing what I'm supposed to? And that's when kind of I got the confirmation that this was going to be my life if I chose to do it. Because I could have given up at any moment, like you said.
I know.
Whatever. There were so many times I could have given up. I could have just not eaten. I could have just laid in bed and just felt sorry for myself. I could have done a lot of those things. And but I just kept praying, and I can't give people a different answer.
So and let's get to that, because what I'm about to ask you is, what advice do you have for cancer patient looking at this interview, who has been giving a specific time to live? And before you answer that, because that's something I see so often. I have a breast cancer network in the Caribbean, and I have two friends in Toronto, but the doctors gave one month to live 20 years ago, and the other a few months to live about 13 years ago. Yeah, they do this. What advice? Because somebody who's out there is in your situation right now, and theirs. I never got a time. I was told that because I had great doctors, I was told that I'd be fine. I just have to keep doing the right things. But there are people who a doctor watches you in your face. My mom has a friend like that and say, "Hey, you have 2 months, 3 months, and counting." What do you say to them?
Well, there's two opposites. One is some people don't even survive those months. I just found out someone was diagnosed with 3 months and they died in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
And probably
done.
they didn't know they'd still be living.
They're just done. They're done.
Yeah.
They lose hope.
Yeah.
So one thing that I don't want people to do is that one. Don't lose hope.
Don't lose hope.
And number two, find out, why are you alive? What has happened in your life? And what do you want to do with your life? And that's the decision that you have to make. Do I want to live first? And then include God in that equation. Just, even if you don't believe in God, just say, test Him. Hey, start just saying, why not? Just give it a shot. I tell people, why don't you just give God a shot? You know, and I said at the church, give Jesus a shot.
Yeah,
But I'm saying it in a way, you know, in a very humorous tone. Give it a shot. You give other things a shot in life. We give, and then we let God, the doctor, be God. He ain't God. He's an instrument.
That's right.
So, and I never share this with you, but when I met my doctor, I gave him an envelope, and in the envelope I wrote, God would heal me. Dr. Benedetto, who's my doctor, will be the instrument that God will use to heal me. He's an instrument. He knows he's an instrument of a big journey, a big story, because he tells it to everybody. But what's interesting is they're instrument, and they don't have to be doctors. It could be you. You could be just sharing your story with somebody.
That's my
They
point.
start believing in God, and they might not even go through chemotherapy.
And it's my hope that from this interview, you know, particularly persons who are diagnosed with later stages of cancer can have hope. You know, we're losing people daily to this dreadful disease. So, I mean, for me, I have to ask you, David, do you believe that God can heal a person diagnosed with cancer at a late stage if you truly have faith in Him?
I was a death door. So
that's what I want to hear.
If you look at those pictures,
I've seen that.
I was given 3 days to live. Then I was given 5 days to live. After my chemotherapy, the doctor said, if you come back in 5 days, we'll start our second round. And that was at 124 pounds with no energy, no immune system, nothing. So I don't have to answer that question. You can look at that picture, and then you can look at what I look like a year later. And what was interesting is I was back on stage hosting a show a year later. I was back on stage modeling a year later after that diagnosis.
Because once God says yes, no one can say no.
And I was at a church, August to August of 2007, giving my testimony for the first. I never thought I'd be at a church speaking. I mean, that just never. And
but God is real.
And that is where I got my purpose, right there. That day when I say I'm at a church, I confirmed that God had healed me, and not only that, that He has an amazing plan for my life. So I just pray that people are touched by it, but more importantly, that they get their relationship with God. Because even if you die here, the purpose is something different. But if you can be healed here in your spirit and your heart.
Thank you for that. And thank you for just spending this time with me. Thank you for sharing. And how can they reach you? What's your Facebook? What's your website?
My name. DavidOctavioGandell.com, or they can go to Facebook, David Octavio Gandell, 2-time cancer survivor.
And that'll be on our screen.
And on your website as well. And thank you for letting this be part of my dream. You don't know how, I mean, every time I do this, this is very special for me.
Well, I want to end off with a small quote that says, faith is what the eyes can't see, but the heart can feel. I'm Alicia Powell. Thank you for watching The Basia Show. See you next time. Basia for life. Bye.